So I've always struggled with how much of myself do I, you know, reveal. And like, what about myself exactly, like, do I share with you? But most importantly, I've always been struggling with dealing with this like relentlessly incessant feeling of having something to say or having a story to tell, you know what I mean? Struggling because for a while I've allowed people and things and experiences to convince me that I didn't have a story to tell, that I didn't have anything worthy or relevant to say. Like certain things about who I was or who I am or my positionality in the world made me less important. So I guess, the first step to any kind of recovery or repair or healing is to talk about this void, this vacuum I've been living in for the past while. I guess that's a story within itself, right? Yeah. Sunbunani, Duelong, Abushedi, hello, hello, hello! I'm so excited to be back with you guys. I'm so excited to be making videos again. I even whipped up my mom's favorite earrings that she got in the 80s when she was like young and fresh in her early 20s and stuff. Yo, in the 80s they were shining, 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 yeah. So I can like already imagine the faces of all 400 of you faithful subscribers, darling, when YouTube gave you the notification to say, Leno Macheke has just released a new video.
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm. What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure? Stay calm! Wait. Everybody calm down!
So towards the end of that wreck, wow, that train smash, that mess of a year that was 2017, I started to shut down a lot. I just decided, you know what, I'm not going to contribute to any kind of social discourse in any way. So I stopped making videos, I stopped writing, I stopped making podcasts, I just stopped doing the whole thing. I just stopped. I decided in my mind, I was like, okay, I need to take a hiatus. Hiatus. How do you say it? You know what? I'm black. I'm a black African. I'm a black African in Africa. English literally came on a ship. It's not my mother tongue. It's not my father tongue. I don't care. So at certain times of the year, I have a habit of going into this like self-destructive state of reclusivity, right? And within this destructive state, I use silence as sort of a way to ward people off, ward attention off me. But also at the same time, I use it as a form of protection from taking responsibility for the things that bubble up to the surface that I have either, internalized or believed about myself. All these negative things I internalize and I keep quiet as a way to allow this negative process to happen, right? And I just really marinated in sort of like self-loathe and resurface trauma and things like that. And in today's video, I actually want to engage two of the things that were really weighing me down during that period of silence and darkness, because I believe that giving a wound a voice and a witness really brings on healing. And so I think I'm ready to heal, and I'm ready to allow you guys to watch me heal. So let's go. So the first thing that really has a tendency to get me down and stop me from believing that I'm good at things or great at things and that I'm worthy and that I'm valuable is this idea of privilege. It's the concept of privilege, right? It's the privilege that you acquire during, the course of your life. So, for example, I come from a good home. I am well educated. I speak 3 to 4 languages proficiently. I also identify myself as queer non-binary, so I have masculine and feminine passing privileges, respectively, differentially, but respectively. The state of upbringing in spaces has been pretty diverse. I've grown up in the suburbs, I've grown up in townships, I've grown up in Makaya, so I've had a pretty diverse, upbringing and living experiences. So diversity, right, in this sense is what privilege has afforded me. It has afforded me all kinds of capital, social capital, material capital, intellectual capital, all kinds of capital. But in a way, I've always been looked down on or made to feel guilty or ashamed about my privileges. So, for example, in the family, I'm the cousin who comes from the big city, who speaks big English, who lives in the suburbs, who is not necessarily allowed or afforded the opportunity to have struggle. Or in the classroom, where the stuff that I put out into the megaverse that is the internet ends up being a part of class content or teaching in some kind of way, I, in a sense, acquire some kind of this aura of superiority amongst my academic superiors and my peers. And in that sense, there's this unspoken expectation to continuously be perfect, not only in the space where I cultivate, content for me and for you, but also in the classroom. Or being young and excellent, such as myself. Yes, I'm calling myself higher. It is 20 motherfucking 18. So me being excellent and using all kinds of privileges and capital and working hard and just putting it all together to put myself in, for example, corporate spaces where I'm sort of, again, shamed or made to feel guilty about my privileges that got me in that space in the first place. You know what I mean? Or in queer spaces and queer discourses, because of sort of my sexual presenting fluidity kind of thing. As Jasmine Masters would say, I ain't masculine, but I ain't femme. I'm just, I'm what's up kind of thing. Because of that, I have experienced instances where I'm not allowed to comment or share opinions or contribute to queer discourse because I don't necessarily identify plainly and distinctively to a certain queer identity, right? So as you guys can there's this constant tug of war between struggle Olympics and then privilege Olympics. And really what this war boils down to is about legitimacy. Who's legitimate enough to belong? Who's legitimate enough to navigate spaces in certain ways, right? It's about legitimacy. And so the message that I kept receiving throughout my childhood and my adolescence was that I wasn't legitimate enough to exist in a certain space, to say certain things, to express myself in a certain way, to belong to certain communities. And the more illegitimate I felt, the more I caved into myself. And so in 2017, I think I collapsed. I collapsed into myself. And so the second thing that I internalized in this breakdown of mine that I had at the end of last year was being in unsupportive, unhealthy relationships, associations, and environments, right? I've always known the negative impact that unhealthy relationships and environments can have on your life, the way you navigate life, the way you think about yourself, what you believe to be true or not about yourself. I've always known that stuff in theory. I had to, at some point, go through certain spaces and people and situations consciously to really realize the full extent of the damage these kinds of spaces and people were doing to me. A lot of the time, my sense of self-worth and self-value was being diminished. And it was being diminished in two ways. The first was I would often find myself in relationships. And when I say relationships, I mean relationships with lovers, so-called friends, so-called family, who would be either intimidated or not really keen on discussing the work that I put out into this megaverse that we call the internet. And I've actually recently discovered that talking about my work is not a form of like, you know, gassing me up or whatever. It's actually my love language. Talking about the things that I think about, the things that I go through, and how I then internalize all those experiences and put them into a body of work for you guys to see is important to me. Because when we don't discuss my work, in the sense that it is a love language for me, it's a form of negation for me. It's negation, it's denial, and then it snowballs into a hatred of sorts. Being in unhealthy relationships and environments harmed me was through gaslighting and overhyping, right? For a significant portion of my life, I've always felt this like soma unrealistic expectation to always perform to the max, to always give 100%, to always be on top, to always deliver. And I would buy into these notions more, especially because I was never given the opportunity to set my own standards and to decide for myself my participation and reaction to those who may have had some negative type of feeling towards the standards that I was setting for myself. And I'm very well aware of the excellence that I am, darling. And so obviously I wouldn't set a low bar for me, but I just felt like the more work I put out, the more I evolved as like this like soma public figure, the more unrealistic the expectations became, especially from my personal circles, from friends to family to people that I would, even people that I would like vibe with. And I'm just like, whoa. The expectations are just too much. So if I didn't deliver, there would always be backlash. There would always be some kind of negative, unconstructive criticism that would be directed towards me. The more I believed in the things that people were telling me, the more I started to lose my sense of self-value and sense of self-worth, and the more I became less and less a shareholder of my life and of my work and of everything, or the little at that stage, that I believed in and stood for, as a person and also as a creative intellectual. But most of all, the thing that I had to do, which was like absolutely NB for like the restructuring of my foundation, is that I had to set at least one rule. And the rule that I live by is, if I can get one person to say that they relate, or they don't relate, or they engaged it, or they loved it, or they hated it, is fine with me, because that's what I love. The thing that I also had to like really keep in mind and remember is that I will always have a story to tell. How I tell that story, in what manner I tell that story, I will always have a story to tell. And I should never, ever in my whole damn life forget that. I'm worthy, I'm valuable, I'm excellent. In my eyes first. And that is why you're watching this video today. I had to remind myself of who I was. You guys know what to do. Like, share, subscribe if you loved this video. If you did not like this video, you can actually dislike, as long as you're sharing and subscribing. I would also appreciate your comments. You guys comment, you know, here and there throughout my videos, but I'd really appreciate engagements. I'd really appreciate perspectives, opinions. Don't tell me what to do on my videos, okay? Don't touch me on my studio. But just engagement. I love that shit. So thank you again. Mwah.